Hello, ma'am. Aparajita, ma'am. Justice Deepak Mishra sir is here. Ma'am, you are on mute.
Good morning. Welcome, sir. I think you are on mute. Such a pleasure to see you, sir. Big namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaskar, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, we are always fortunate to be blessed by you in a major global audience forum. When you were the sitting Chief Justice, you were so kind to support us, and it's a historic memory that we have. Thank you for once again gracing us. Our students were so enthusiastic, and they were so happy to have you guide us today. Thank you, sir.
I won't say most welcome. I'll reserve it for some time.
Yes, sir. Your physical visit to the campus, we have missed you in last 3 years. Surely, sir.
Yeah, what to do? It's a constraint in a way.
Yes, sir. But our students are so resilient. They could have done this festival also online, but they have embarked on some offline events all around campus, about 2,000 students. So to encourage them, it was so nice of you to agree to be, even though online, to be there with them. Sir, welcoming you here will be a great privilege and reviving all that divine influence you have had on us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. So, organizers, do we start immediately? Now that sir is there, we should not make sir wait.
Yes, ma'am. Justice Yeru, sir, is also
Justice
online.
Pradeep, sir, good morning.
Good morning, madam. Good
yeah,
morning,
we
my
have
lord
kept your
Deepak
waiting.
Mishra ji.
Good morning, brother. Good morning.
It's a pleasure to see you, sir.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I hope you're keeping good health, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Looking very fit and fine, sir.
Yeah, sir looks very, yeah, the aura is great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gaurav Bhatia is also around. Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, we have been planning to bring you for long. Although it is online, it's such a privilege. Like sir, you should join us, both the sirs, you should join us to talk to students alive. Please. Yeah. Welcome.
Good morning to everyone, and it's an honor. Greetings to Justice Deepak Mishra as well as Justice Yerur. It's a privilege to be on the panel, and I'm very grateful to you, Dr. Shashikala ji, and Aprajita Mohanty ji, and all the students for inviting me. Thank you.
But Mr. Bhatia, you are not visible.
Am I not visible?
Now you are becoming, yeah, now I can see you. Yeah. There is too much of light.
Sir, I reside in your heart, sir.
Yeah. No.
Sir, Bhatia is charming as ever. The past 10 years I have been watching him.
That's right.
So very grateful. Thank you for the compliment. And I would say that charm flows from the bench to the bar.
Yes.
Ma'am, should we admit students? I'm sorry, you are on mute.
Yes, please. All the panelists are there. It's not correct to make them wait. Yeah, let's hurry. Justice Pradeep sir, once again, welcome. I was there when you were talking to my colleagues. You had reported 15 minutes earlier.
Yes, thank you, madam. Thank
Welcome
you.
once again.
It's a pleasure to be. Yes,
thank you, sir.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to the illustrious dignitaries, respected Director Ma'am Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, beloved faculty and fellow students. I welcome all of you to the 5th edition of CONCLAVE here in 2022. The Symbiosis Law School Pune CONCLAVE is one of the flagship events of the university. CONCLAVE intends to give a forum for expounding new ideas, reflecting on new themes, and delving into the mind of India's youth through the organization of a legal panel discussion cum interactive session with eminent jurists from across the nation. This year, we wish to carry forward the legacy of being a trailblazer of contemporary topics by conducting the 5th edition of Symbiosis Law School Pune CONCLAVE 2022 here today on Saturday, 9th of April. In 2020, just before the pandemic hit our shores, we were fortunate enough to conduct a physical conclave that was graced by many luminaries. However, despite the pandemic in 2021, we still held an online global conclave, which saw distinguished participation and was even attended by over 2,000 people. This edition of SLSP Conclave 2022 shall entail a legal panel discussion on the theme, The Future of Legal Practice in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. I would like to inform everyone that this event is being live streamed to Symbiosis Law School, and we are glad to tell you that students are present physically to watch it as well, and they do so with much enthusiasm. Artificial intelligence has been defined as technology that automates tasks that normally require human intelligence. This definition of AI differentiates it from other forms of technology, as it is technology that focuses on automating certain categories of tasks, those that require human intelligence to perform them. We use artificial intelligence everywhere already. Just to give you an example, on our mobile phones, there are the features of autocorrect and predictive typing today. Even another example is the autonomous cars concept, and more cars in India that are coming up have certain autonomous features, even if they are not yet fully autonomous. While the idea of using artificial intelligence in law and allied legal fields is not a novel concept and has been researched upon by organizations such as the International Conference of Artificial Intelligence and Law since the 1980s, the rapid development of AI in the last decade has bolstered research in this field. These new technological advancements have shifted the focus from knowledge representation in law towards the usage of machine learning in law enforcement and in learning how artificial intelligence can assist in tasks such as expediting the delivery of justice or predicting case outcomes. The Indian judiciary has been an early adopter of AI, having laid the foundation for e-courts equipped with basic computing hardware through the e-courts mission mode project, also known as the e-courts project. The Indian judiciary in the last 3 years and more has taken a quantum leap to fully harness the possibilities that cutting-edge AI has to offer today. On 26th of November 2019, the National Constitution Day, Justice Bobde launched the beta version of a neural translation tool called SYMBHAV, which formally marked the advent of AI within Indian courts. In addition, AI is increasingly used by law firms and lawyers to automate a plethora of clerical tasks, such as document review, analyzing contracts, legal research, and predicting results. As laid out in the concept note for this event, we also have various sub-themes today. These include, but are definitely not limited to, the degree of AI inclusion in the Indian legal system, incorporating AI for augmenting legal experience, and new avenues for the legal system in the cryptocurrency and blockchain era. With this, I now request the Director of Symbiosis Law School Pune, Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, to give the welcome address. Please allow me to introduce ma'am. Dr. Shashikala Gurpur is the Director of Symbiosis Law School Pune and Dean, Faculty of Law for Symbiosis International University. Ma'am is an accomplished academician, a passionate researcher, Toastmaster, and a Fulbright scholar. She holds a PhD in International Law from University of Mysore, Karnataka State Government Award, Gold Medal for topping in LLM, and was the AHRB Visiting Fellow, Edinburgh Law School, UK, selected for Fulbright Nehru Administrator Seminar in 2011. Ma'am has an impressive career with a vast range of experience in teaching, research, NGOs, and industry. She has been continuing with Symbiosis Law School since 2007 and is a pioneer in EU legal studies in India. She is the Jean Monnet Chair Professor for EU Climate Justice, Law, Governance, Management, and Policy. This is a unique recognition and award granted by the EU. What makes it even more remarkable and unique is that it is the first Jean Monnet Chair granted not only in Pune, but in Western India, the first Jean Monnet Chair in law to be chaired by a woman, and only the second Jean Monnet Chair in India in the field of law. Dr. Gurpur is the recipient of several distinct awards, honors, and recognitions for her contribution towards legal education, gender sensitization, and community outreach programs. In recognition of her contributions to Indian legal academia, Ma'am was listed in the book titled 100 Legal Luminaries of India by LexisNexis. Dr. Shashikala Gurpur was a member of the Law Commission of India and is currently a member of the Curriculum Development Committee, a life member of Indian Law Institute, member of the CDC, Bar Council of India, and a distinguished member of the editorial board of the Cyber Law University International e-Journal. I now invite Director Dr. Shashikala Gurpur for the welcome address.
Good morning, respected Chief Guest, Justice Deepak Mishra Sir, Justice Pradeep Singh Sir, the Honorable Guest of Honor, Advocate Gaurav Bhatia, another Guest of Honor, dear compeer Vikrant, my esteemed colleagues, Dr. Bindu, Dr. Mohanty, and others who are here on the panel, and Ms. Angira, the head of Student Advisory Board, the president. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you, the student participants who are here from SLS Pune, from sister institutes under the Faculty of Law in Symbiosis International University, who are connected here either in person with their delegation to this fest, SYMBHAV, or who are online from their respective venues. A very warm welcome to you, our law schools from Nagpur, Noida, Hyderabad, in addition to all other law schools and other institutes from where youngsters are invited here or participating here to partake the wisdom from this conclave. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Now, today's theme, already the compeer has laid out the vistas of the theme in terms of its implication for the future of legal practice. We all have seen that we have come of age, a kind of growth triggered by COVID-19 in terms of using technology in legal practice, in meeting our needs for justice, and also in sprucing up or speeding up the mechanism of justice delivery system. But we also know that there were many challenges. We were unprepared. The preparedness across India is not even. There is so much of unevenness in terms of our law schools, as much as the products that we create across our different types of law schools in terms of familiarity with technology. I remember way back in 2007 when I took over, we had a small computer lab, and one of the judges who had visited then had asked, do law schools need computer lab? It took about 3 years for Bar Council of India, with the leadership of Gopala Subramaniam, to introduce mandatory parameters for how big the lab should be, what should be the student lab ratio. Now, by then, we already had closely been working with the National Judicial Grid's precursor, E-Court concept, where we had the good fortune of connecting to Justice Chavanji and others who were working under the vision and leadership of people like Justice Deepak Mishra Sir. I must say that we are very, very privileged to have Justice Deepak Mishra Sir as the chief guest here, who under his leadership was setting the foundation for what we are seeing today in terms of technological competence of the judiciary. I also recall Sir's ardent participation in encouraging our young students as the moot court judge, as the valedictory ceremony chief guest, when he was only a high court judge. Ever since then, Sir has been in our hearts and mind for the unique ideas, the great scholarship, the very well prepared speeches that he used to bring to the table. And I used to be really amazed at the original thoughts that Sir brought to the table. It was a hybrid of ancient thinking and modern mind. Sir, today we had this great privilege of having you here because we are contemplating on artificial intelligence's role in an era when we also are rediscovering our own self-definition as geared for the future with very strong Indian accent, Indianness, and indigenous kind of focus on our own being. So in this kind of cusp of time, it was only opportune that our students took this topic up for the conclave, where the youngsters will be debating, asking questions in terms of the wisdom that is going to come from the panelists. I remember in 2019, when we went on a kind of placement-based city visits, we held this discussion in Bangalore as a public discussion on artificial intelligence and judiciary. It was such a pleasant coincidence, like how it happens in Fortune, that many minds think at the same time in the same manner. The then sitting Chief Justice was holding a debate with the Karnataka High Court judges on the same day. It couldn't be more opportune that within 2 months, I think it was 2020 January, within 2 months we were hit by COVID-19 and all of us had to spruce up our technical skills. Now, coming to artificial intelligence, we had done a paper in our, we have 4 or 5 European projects. So in one of the conferences, me and my 3 colleagues did a paper on e-court and e-justice approaches across Europe and across the world. And we were surprised to find that China was using a lot of artificial intelligence to finalize the cases. Then my colleagues were saying, ma'am, for a huge country that we are, this could be very, very relevant. I said, no, we are not that kind of a country. For us, justice is not a mechanical process. For us, justice is a value. It is a life throb. It is there in our DNA in terms of dharma as a varied concept within Buddhism, Hinduism, and other religious philosophies. So for us, justice now is in this greatest experiment of democracy, a very stable experiment with a lot of nuances being accommodated and the fundamental fabric of diversity being protected. Could a robo or could a bot judge replace all these empathetic, emotional, and evolving organic entity called India? So this is my challenge to the conclave, as I welcome all of you, to the panelists and to the esteemed dignitaries who are here decorating the virtual stage with their presence, coming from both excellent background in profession and intellectual contribution like Advocate Gaurav Bhatia, and excellent track record in judiciary like former Chief Justice of India, Justice Deepak Mishra, and our own stakeholder and very, very famous and strong judge from Karnataka High Court, Justice Pradeep Singh sir. Now here, as I welcome you for the benefit of some of you who are new here, especially Advocate Bhatia and Justice Pradeep Singh sir, although Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, Justice Deepak Mishra knows all the details, we are a law school which is consistently ranked among the top 5, top 10 law schools in the country. In our country today, there are 1,750 plus law schools. So it is no mean achievement. We couldn't maintain it, but for the blessings of all stakeholders like you, the community, and most of all our brilliant students. Our students are utilized, or rather they are contributing to our excellence through their student advisory board, which has taken this initiative about 5 years ago to kickstart this idea of a conclave. Because all festivals in all the colleges are known for the fervor of dance, drama, and other cultural expressions, and seldom they have a serious idea being debated. So we had given this idea to students about 8 years ago. Why not create an international law students forum? Because we have International Law Deans Forum, where Justice Mishra Saab himself came as a speaker online, and it had really set a kind of standard for all the law deans across the world in 2017. But for students, what do we have? So last year, with the challenge of COVID, the adversity was turned into advantage. We had double conclave. It was a double bonanza. One was the generic conclave, another was exclusive student conclave with speakers from all over the world, facilitated by technology. So our students have always been innovators. They have been smart. Because of them, we are able to maintain this consistent topmost position as a private law school, rubbing shoulders with the best in the world. And we have been topmost in internationalization as well. So this is where, competing with medical colleges, engineering colleges, management colleges, where it's very easy to translate the core science into transnational context. Law is not that easy because law is bound up with the national governance. Still, we made it in internationalization to the FICCI award. Now, this DNA of internationalization was sown while creating Symbiosis. Dr. Mazumdar created a loose network of Indian and foreign students to support the foreign students to integrate into the landscape of Pune, which was a little bit laced with the racism for students from African background. In 1971, that seed later, by 1977, grew into the first higher education institute in the form of this law school, to be first under the banner as Higher Education Institute. It followed the suit, the Management Institute followed suit. Today, we have more than 40 institutes under Symbiosis International University. Our excellence was recognized in 2002 by Ministry of Human Resource Development to be conferred the deemed university status. 2002 to now, we have accomplished 40 plus institutes under the banner, under 8 faculty, and the latest member to the family is all women's medical college, which is again a rare achievement that we have added. And our hospital has been identified for its yeoman contribution during COVID-19 to the community in Pune. Now, with that in the background, I'm very happy to also share with you that we have been close participants in analyzing, critiquing, researching on artificial intelligence and other dimensions in judicial efficiency. We foresee that this is going to be a great contribution by any law school to engage in research, in discourse, and to gather this kind of knowledge to finally publish or to critique in public debate. So I welcome each and every one of you as I hand over the stage back to the compeer, thanking the esteemed dignitaries for honoring our invitation and for encouraging the enthusiasm of our students. While leaving the forum, I would like to tell you that the mascot of our festival this time is the famous Malabar giant squirrel, Shekru, and students renamed it as Shekru the Simba, which stands for its resilience. And also, although it is on the verge of extinction, it has revived itself. Similarly, the spirits of students have revived themselves in the form of this festival, making it a hybrid version with good footfall.
Thank you so much for your words, ma'am. They're always an encouraging and a guiding light for us. I would now like to welcome the chief guest for Conclave 2022, Honorable Mr. Justice Deepak Mishra. Sir has served as the 45th Chief Justice of India from 28th August 2017 till 2nd October 2018. A former judge of Odisha and Madhya Pradesh High Courts and a former Chief Justice of Patna and Delhi High Courts as well, he is a bold and humane judge. As a judge, Justice Mishra has delivered several landmark judgments in the field of human rights, civil liberties, and rights concerning the lives of citizens. He has contributed immensely to Indian constitutional jurisprudence, and each of his judgments can be said to constitute watershed moments in Indian judicial history for enhancing the scope of the golden trinity of rights under the Constitution. As a judge of the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice of India, Justice Mishra has delivered many significant judgments, which include the 124-year-old Kaveri water dispute, live streaming of court proceedings, decriminalization of homosexuality, the distribution of legislative power between center and states, direction to the states to upload FIRs on websites within 24 hours of the registration for enabling the accused to file plea for redress effectively, decision in the Nirbhaya gang rape and murder case, which led to the genesis of a stringent anti-rape law, upholding the constitutional validity of Aadhaar while striking down Section 57, thereby debarring the sharing of citizen data with private entities on the ground that it was contrary to the fundamental right to privacy, and further prohibiting the mandatory linking of Aadhaar to bank accounts and mobile numbers, and also preventing denial of subsidies and social welfare benefits in the absence of Aadhaar, rights of creative thinkers to express freely, gender justice, inclusiveness under the Constitution, depreciating honor killing and mob vigilantism, acceptance of passive euthanasia, guidelines for sanctity of election in a democracy, and guidelines on fixation of future prospects for deciding compensation in motor accident claims. Justice Mishra has also decided important issues pertaining to commercial and contractual matters, including the auction of spectrum, as well as issues in the field of taxation, corporate law, and arbitration. I now invite Sir to address us all with his wise words.
Thank you. Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, Justice Yerur, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, members of various faculties, Mr. Vikrant Sharma, the anchor of the day, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Two things at the very outset I would like to clarify. Ma'am said there was some kind of conclave, a generic one, and then student-oriented, and she feels proud for the college. And she added one line, because the students are brilliant. I would request the students not to remain in any kind of illusion that you have your brilliance on your own. You have the potential to become brilliant. Latent energy is with you. Who makes it kinetic? Indubitably, the members of the faculty. Otherwise, you can't be brilliant. I remember my college days, while we were studying under a professor as the head of the department, I still said on the other day that he was our professor. Then the stamp gets unmade, so and so student. It was a brilliant man. I'm no one to certify, but I can as a student. So remember that. Second, she spoke about the Symbiosis Law College. You see, whenever I think of this college, I cannot abandon my temptation to say that it is an institution where conflicts will not exist. There will be a symbiosis, a synergy between any kind of intelligence, potent or developed. This does not perceive any kind of controversy. It is an inclusive institution. So I congratulate ma'am and all the faculty members. Now coming to this topic, I'm not an AI scholar. You see. But what is this artificial intelligence? Why have the scientists thought about it? You see, to understand it, I made some kind of thinking. You see, if you analyze the spectrum of intelligence, there are fundamentally 5 to 6 types of intelligence. First, intellectual intelligence. Intellectual intelligence. Second, emotional intelligence. I'll explain this. Third, uncommon, common sense intelligence. Uncommon, common sense intelligence. Then instinctual intelligence. Fifth, subconscious awakened intelligence. Then the unifier intelligence. Now let us try to understand one after the other. Let's go to emotional intelligence. Some may ask me that if it is emotional, how that man is intelligent? Please try to understand, when you are able to sublimate the emotion, you are really applying the conception of emotional intelligence. And I'll explain instinctual intelligence. Many people have it. I have been told Einstein had it, George Bernard Shaw had it, Gautam Buddha had it, maybe many. I don't know. They were able to awaken the subconscious, by which the instincts and the subconscious could get amalgamated and the intelligence surfaced. It's a very high kind of intelligence. The issue that arises for consideration, if the God has Almighty or the nature, call it whatever you like, has bestowed the human mind with so many categories or types of intelligence, what is the need of inventing artificial intelligence? Some may think it is the complex mind of some individuals who want to usher in more kind of complexity in the world to disturb the peace, tranquility, and harmony. God bless them. There are others who are more rational. They say, no, man's mind is never intellectually complacent. Contentment with life, or what the life gives, is a different feature than complacency with intelligence. It is because man, especially the innovative man, is extremely curious, and curiosity is mother of discovery and mother of all knowledge. And that is why it propels the thinking mind to think, go ahead, march on, and do something. That is why the artificial intelligence has come into fore. I heard I think one of those addresses, so not many, that the artificial intelligence should be allowed to take a quantum leap. I do not intend to agree or disagree. I would only like to say this is such a phenomenon. The humanity cannot allow a quantum leap to it in every sphere. Understanding the concept, appreciating the idea, then pragmatizing it in the ground reality has to be step by step, the mankind has to move quite steadily and thoughtfully. I am reminded few words of Hawkins. Stephen Hawkins had said, I quote, computers will overtake humans with artificial intelligence within next 100 years. When that happens, we need to make sure that computers have goals aligned with ours, unquote. It is not difficult to understand. Extremely a mind of great genius, but simple in expression, simple in ideas, that unless they are aligned to your needs, to your thoughts, you might lose control. Fundamentally means so. But you cannot remain away from artificial intelligence. I am not the one, and I don't intend to join that group. Let's put a scare. Look, ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence is coming. As if the winter is coming. On the contrary, I would like to tell the young boys and girls, the students, that this is the early spring. Enjoy the utility of artificial intelligence. Welcome it and see what can be done in your circle, in your arena, and in your field. You see, the endeavor of applying artificial intelligence to the judicial proceeding. You see, while I was the Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, the records were digitalized. Most of the courts were metamorphosed into e-courts, paperless courts. E-filing was introduced, and so many things. And the people who were young, the judges, the lawyers who were young, they became quite savvy with it. And they could move faster than they were moving earlier. Disposal of judicial cases by taking assistance of this system is the requisite warrant. Now, you see, it's not a new concept to apply it to judiciary. The eminent judge from Australia, Justice Michael Kirby, he said, and I quote, "The right to see a judicial decision maker struggling conscientiously in public with the detail of a case is a feature of the court system which cannot be abandoned, or at least without risk to the acceptance of the people of courts as part of them form of governance." This is exactly what is wanted. You have to make aware about the people about the system that you are introducing artificial intelligence. Otherwise, as Sasikala ma'am had said in the beginning, it cannot be straight away imposed. As someone gave an example of China to her, because judging, adjudication, decision have a different concept in this country, not today, even from the days of the ancient. Dharma doesn't have a typical translation in English, but loosely it means everyone is guided by a rule of law, and that law is applied in public and in a different way, be that may be. That doesn't mean we will not remain shy of artificial intelligence. We have to learn to apply. You see, I always believe, do not exclude litigations because there is a pendency. Docket inclusion is a welcome facet, but docket exclusion is not appreciated. The people with a grievance have to come to court because every case has a human face. Then, in such a situation, how do you take the help, the aid, and the assistance of artificial intelligence? I have no pangs in saying the highest court of India is endeavoring to introduce many facets of artificial intelligence into various systems. Our judiciary is always progressive, modern looking. It doesn't stay set, stay fixed, stay embedded, engrossed in one particular idea. No, there is a progression. Now, I have thought of what kind of cases can be solved by artificial intelligence. All of you know the base of artificial intelligence is data. If you do not have the correct data, you cannot really make the analysis. I mean, the artificial intelligence cannot make the analysis. It cannot get into the psychology of the judge. At least we have not yet thought of that. In United States, they feed how will this offender behave, and accordingly they plan out a chart, and that chart comes from the machine. I don't think of within our constitutional scheme and the precedents that will be permissible for the present. Now, what can be really carved out to reduce the pendency? I'll give you 4 or 5 areas. First, you see the number of accidents that occur throughout the country is more than lakhs. And the people who are affected are in crores sometimes. I am only picking up death cases because an accident case, an injury case is different because there are different parameters. When you are talking of a death case, certain data can be fake. There is a constitution bench judgment in Pranay Sethi which says how things can be computed or calculated. The age, the multiplicand, multiplier, contribution, the funeral expenses, post-interest, whatever it is. It's all there. Or if all those are fake, then it will be extremely easy for the person to take out that this will be the amount of compensation. All right. Thereafter, give it to both side lawyers. 90% cases they will agree unless somebody has some kind of egotism or adamantine attitude. And if you are successful there, more few crores of pendency would reduce. I'm talking about the country level. Second, my learned brother would be aware that the cases instituted under the Negotiable Instruments Act, many cases are compromised, maybe in the alternative dispute resolution system, that includes Lok Adalat, or before the court. You see, the amount sometimes is more in the check than it's actually given. But be that as it may, if you take 15 to 20 years data or 15 years data, how these cases were settled, how much was accepted by the people at large, then from that, 3-4 things will come out. Then you have to see, you feed your data, then which one comes. I am 100% sure that at least 80 to 90% will accept because they get their money quickly. You see, money today and money after 3 years makes a gulf of difference. Third category of cases, under the Indian Penal Code, there are certain penal provisions which are punishable with fine. Some are punishable with simple imprisonment or fine or both. Mostly the magistrates let up with fine or whatever the punishment they give, that's different, I don't know, or in lieu of. Now, we can't say how many cases fine is imposed and case is closed. That data can be collected by, say, a quarter of a century data. Let's see a particular state, because they are guided by their own judge or whatever their ideology about and high court decisions. Let them see what is the data. Then fit that and fit the facts of the case. Then you will file, most of the cases solution would come. Then under the Code of Criminal Procedure, Section 125, that can be solved. You see, that's a give and take. And I am of the confident view that if proper data is fed, proper answer will come, but you have to collect the data. These are the 3-4 things. But when I'm saying these 3-4 areas, they would govern some cases more than 1 crore in India. Because the parties come, they take time, and they see so many things. Where they know and they are convinced, there has to be workshop with regard to artificial intelligence. But we are having a workshop at a different level. But supposing you go to a sub-divisional town, how do you explain to them? The students are here. Supposing they go to inner village of Pune, how do they explain? they must understand that yes, it is a viability, it's an alternative viability. It can be done without causing harm to us. So the awareness of intelligence, aware of artificial intelligence is also key to its use in the judicial adjudication. Having said, given these examples, I must tell you, artificial intelligence is a tool in the human hands. It can never go beyond the human intelligence unless foolishly the human race would allow it. I'll give you two examples. One from our ancient scriptures and another from 20th century. All of you must be knowing this, this story from this myth. Let's call it a myth. There was some kind of dispute between Kartikeya and Lord Ganesh. Who can cover the universe faster? Kartikeya has the data. Kartikeya has the knowledge. He has the geographical intelligence. Ganesh accepted the challenge. The parents smiled. Then they said, okay, you start. Kartikeya moved very fast. He had the knowledge. He covered the whole thing and came after a few days. Ganesh, he said, how could you come? How could you come so early? You are traveling on a rat. He said, why should I go anywhere? My parents are my universe. Of course, you may say, sir, this is a myth. How can the parents become the universe? But what it conveys, when you decodify this myth, it depends what is the central purpose. Kartikeya was moving with the data, nowhere to understand what is the real thing. Ganesh precisely knew what is where is and did it. Second, impromptu brilliance will never come from artificial intelligence. George Bernard Shaw, one of the greatest genius of in the history, he went to a publisher while he had really not achieved any mark. The publisher read it as extras. It can't be published by this publishing house. He was frustrated. When Shaw became famous, the publisher sent a note to him. Dear Mr. GBS, we would like to publish a book written by you. Better late than never. Better late than never. Shaw immediately sent him a telex. Mr. So-and-so, on occasions, it is better never than late. It is better never than late. This artificial intelligence cannot do. So saluting human intelligence, let's take a place today. We will utilize artificial intelligence as a tool and as an affirmative tool, and we will achieve success. Success rests with the human race. I congratulate the Symbiosis College to have organized such a gathering, and there are many scholars today, and I will be staying for another 15 minutes to hear Brother Guru and Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, and thank you. Thank you very much being present with me.
Thank you so much for your address, sir. While preparing for this, I had considered whether artificial intelligence would be acceptable to litigants and to the general legal fraternity, but I failed to consider that the expediency that it would bring would be an advantage that might overcome all other hesitations. I'm sure the rest of the students also gain many new insights from your words, sir. On behalf of Symbiosis Law School, Pune, I thank you once again. Our guest of honor for conclave is Honorable Justice Pradeep Singh Yerur. Honorable Justice Pradeep Singh Yerur is a permanent judge of the High Court of Karnataka. Post the completion of his education, Justice Yerur was enrolled as an advocate in the year 1997. In 2019, Justice Yerur was appointed as an additional judge of the High Court of Karnataka before being appointed as a permanent judge at the court in 2021. Sir has a diverse repertoire, having practiced in the fields of constitutional law, labor laws, company laws, intellectual property, penal laws, banking laws, and many other areas. Sir has authored a number of important judgments, including the Deccan Herald false news case, the police station riot case, and many more. I invite Sir to share his perspective with us today on the occasion of this conclave.
Thank you. Thank you for your statement. Well, it is an immense honor to be a part of this function of Conclave 2022 of this esteemed law school of Symbiosis Law School, Pune. Under the aegis of SYMBHAV, which is SYMBHAV, respected Lordship Justice Deepak Mishra, Director, extremely highly educated and qualified Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, Senior Advocate, very exuberant and flamboyant Senior Advocate of our country. And we have Mr. Vikrant Sharma, the moderator, and the other panelists, Professor Bindu Ronald, Lasya Vaikram Vikrant, and Dr. Aprajita Mohanty. Well, to begin, I concur with some of the statements made by His Lordship Justice Deepak Mishra. And he is a very magnanimous person with high intellect, and we have heard about his judgments in the Supreme Court, which are landmark judgments which he has passed. In my 23 years of experience as a lawyer and almost 3 years of experience of judgeship in the High Court of Karnataka, I never imagined that I would ever be talking about the artificial intelligence today, about a machine doing a job or work of a human. For the main reason that in the early 90s, when I began my legal career with my senior, we were operating our law office from a garage. You can imagine when the law offices is beginning in a garage where neighbor buildings are all under construction, there is a whole lot of dust and not in a very clean atmosphere, as now we are sitting in a AC room where the computers are located. In the era in which I began practice as a lawyer, and so also I'm sure Honorable Justice Mishra also would acknowledge, and learned senior advocate also will acknowledge, that during those times, we only had a typewriter which we could typewrite pleadings and draft our petitions to file it in the court. So we were in the stage where we were still in the age of typewriters, and thereafter we graduated to the level of electronic typewriter. So thereby, the reason why I'm stating this is that there was no data available for us to do Control C, Control V, and Control P. It was all we had to do on a case-to-case basis, and then draft every petition or pleadings time and again, even though if it is the same similar aspect and similar facts and circumstances of the case. Then came the electronic typewriter, which was little better. Then we got this system of computer, which was a technology-based instrument, which was very new to the lawyers, and we were wondering whether we would be able to cope up with this technology-based computer to meet our requirement, and whether we will be able to deal with it and understand what the IT guys were doing. And it was the beginning was not very conducive to all the lawyers or even the judges or the judiciary, because it was a new thing. Any new aspect, as you all know, is always a challenge, and when it begins, it is creates a lot of confusion and agitation. Thereby, the agitation begins, and there is a lot of chaos in the society. All this happens, to my understanding, is because of the ambiguity and lack of understanding in the root cause for unrest in the society. Now, when the computers came into being, we never thought, as lawyers, and the judges also never thought, that it is going to become a boon in the speedy disposal of cases, and also in generating judgments quicker and assisting the lawyers in performance and improvement in their field of professional life. However, with the spread of knowledge and time, we are today in the age of computers, and you all are witness to how it has created a mammoth change in our society, to the public, to the lawyers, to the judiciary, to the students. Now, I lay my stress, as His Lordship Justice Mishra said, that all the dear students presently who are participating and even otherwise, you all are the future of this country, and not only the future of this country, the future of this world, for the simple reason that success now for anyone is based on your achievement, which would depend upon your hard work, your determination, your perseverance, and your ability to perform. And success means to succeed globally. And the present generation students of Law School Pune, as I've understood, in their way of functioning, would certainly be rubbing shoulders with some of the best in the international arena and the best in the world. Because today's age of computers, as you all know, the globe is shrunk. A data which is available here reaches in few seconds to other parts of the country. Now, coming back to this data and computers and how it has affected judiciary and the legal spheres, I would like to add what one of the senior most judges of the Honorable Supreme Court had said in one of the talk, that though this pandemic has created a lot of havoc, maybe we can, I don't know if we can call it as a blessing in disguise to humanity with regard to usage of this artificial intelligence and computers and data from one place to the other, because this has brought into change the atmosphere in judiciary. I must share this information that even during the pandemic, the Karnataka High Court worked right from the first day of pandemic, and thereafter, initially with only video conferencing method, and thereafter we adopted hybrid method when things got eased out. So therefore, there is some change which is brought about by this technology, which assisted in the lawyers changing their mind and coming out of this fear psychosis, which is called as technophobia. Technophobia is a phobia which is a phobia of a technology. Initially, it is bound to happen to anyone that when there is a new technology, we are not aware of it. We cannot be, we cannot be blamed for it. No one can be blamed unless you understand the technology yourself. And it takes time. Of course, all the students sitting here, I'm sure each and every one are certainly having a gadget which is Android and which is the latest technology, smartphones. If you see, when we started during our days, there was black and white TV. Thereafter, there came the color TV. Now you have smart TVs which function. Even the ACs, the refrigerators, the fans are all smart. So technology has to be adopted for the welfare of public, for the betterment of the public and the people as a whole. Now, as Honorable Justice Mishra has stated, that we have to carefully analyze what is going to be useful and how much of this technology of artificial intelligence has to be accepted in the judiciary, and how much it can perform, and in what field and what arena of legal sphere the artificial intelligence can be accepted. Well, this is the moot point that needs to be taken for consideration. To elaborate my submissions and my point of view, I would concur with Honorable Justice Mishra that some of the areas, certainly the artificial intelligence can be used, which would be in the betterment of the judiciary, on the side of litigation. On these spheres, I would like to add, like Justice Mishra said, in the motor vehicles cases. In fact, I'm sitting in the roster of motor vehicles cases presently. So I'm dealing with accidents day in and day out, where death and injuries occur. In these, like His Lordship said, the constitutional bench judgment of the National Insurance Company versus Pranay Sethi has laid down the law as to how the accident cases needs to be decided without wasting much time on where they have given the income, the multiplier, the age, the avocation, and if there is no proof of income, and how many dependents, and all these things have been calibrated, and a law has been laid down. If the same thing is put into a data and an artificial intelligence is asked to work on it, certainly, yes, it can be used. So also in the case of Sarla Verma versus Delhi Transport Corporation, where the multiplier has been used with regard to minors or majors or adults, the same issue has been upheld by the Honorable Apex Court to see how these cases can be decided. The other aspect is in the cases of Employees Compensation Act, which is also similar to that of the motor accident cases, where accident happens to an employee during the course of or in the course of employment. The similar aspects can also be made use of by way of artificial intelligence. The third one, which His Lordship mentioned, is about the Negotiable Instruments Act. I must tell you that these three enactments were made for the beneficial legislations or as a beneficial legislation. But if you see in the whole country, it is these three enactments which have large number of cases in the country, and they are pending for over more than a decade. But in the advent of these constitutional bench judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court and the innovative judgments bringing into fora the calculation methodology, where a mathematical calculations could be made, in such scenarios, I'm sure artificial intelligence could be used to minimize litigations, to benefit the lawyers, to benefit the public and the dependents or legal representatives of the deceased. That is why in the Negotiable Instrument Act, the amendment has been brought into force, wherein they have tried to curb the litigation and minimize to go about deciding the issue and not to only just protract and drag on the proceedings. If you see in our country, it is a general tendency of the litigant to see how he can protract the proceedings by using the lacunas of law. Now that has to be curbed, and I'm happy that we have some wonderful judges in the Honorable Supreme Court and so also in the high courts of all the entire country, who are now not just going by the stringent laws, but are using innovative ways of how to deal with situations on a case-to-case basis to arrive at justice and not just deal with law. I must tell you, law and justice, though sound like the same, but there are two different aspects. There may be a law, there is an enactment, you have to follow the law, but justice is not just the law. justice is something beyond law, and you may have to do something more than what just law or the enactment says or the law says. So that is really called justice, which should be not only done, but should seem to be done and should be delivered, and the public should feel that there is a judicial system which is going to deliver justice and they are going to benefit, and not fear that the justice is not going to happen in this country. The day the public or a litigant comes to know that he is not getting justice, I can tell you that we should say to ourselves that we have failed in the system. Now, the other aspect is the large number of cases presently we are encountering in the country is the family disputes. There is the independence of the economic, financial independence of a woman is welcome. It causes little anxiety to the, I'm sorry to say, to the menfolk, because the women are now coming forward. It's a good change in the system and society. But however, in view of all these matrimonial disputes of divorce, maintenance, and also domestic violence and 498A, Cruelty and Dowry Prohibition Act, there are a huge number of cases of pendency across the country. Like Honorable Justice Mishra said, under Section 125 of CRPC again, which is a provision made in the CRPC for securing maintenance, that also the artificial intelligence can be used, like how the motor vehicles accident cases have been enumerated, where a fixed salary, if decided, already, if I'm not wrong, the Delhi High Court has already laid down a law in, I think, in Neha Sharma's case, where the affidavits will have to be filed by both parties, and based on the income disclosed by them, the courts can take a view. So even if this methodology is adopted, artificial intelligence can also play a major role in minimizing the litigation and giving appropriate remedy expeditiously to the deprived wife and the minor children of maintenance and sustenance of the family. My understanding is that where mathematical calculations or equations or algorithms are involved, I'm sure artificial intelligence could be used to minimize time and provide accurate and precise decisions in the matters. Where emotional issues and other complicated issues are involved, I do not think that artificial intelligence, unless it is proved, can come into play and provide reasonable relief to the litigants. As His Lordship rightly said, that instant reactions will have to be provided by the artificial intelligence if in a matter of judiciary where the parties are addressing arguments. Like His Lordship's judgments in 377 and the Aadhaar and 497 and the Supreme Court going live is a you all must have already read about it, and that is a landmark judgments for the country, which nobody thought would ever happen in this country. Now, if we can put this 377 and 497 for an artificial intelligence to act as a machine, I wonder how it will react, because there are no algorithms. It has to be reacted on the basis of emotional and quotient rather than just a mathematical algorithms. Now, coming to the aspect of the artificial intelligence in the non-litigation sphere, I'm sure it will certainly add value in the non-litigation arena, where it is going to save time. No doubt, the corporate lawyers on the non-litigation side, it is, like I said, it is Control-C, Control-V, and Control-P. So in these areas of drafting contracts and pleadings, and where you have huge documentations of international documentations, or for that matter, governmental documentations, I'm sure artificial intelligence will certainly play a big role in minimizing time, reducing the error, also being cost effective, and define higher level of intellect and proficiency in the lawyers and the legal draftsmen. We all know, and all the students here, I must say, all the students sitting here in this hall and outside, even otherwise, are lucky to be in this generation of technology where within a press of a button of your phone or your computer, you get the latest judgment within few seconds. His Lordship will agree along with the senior advocate Gaurav Bhatia that when we were practicing, we had to sit in the library to, let's say, order 1 rule 10 or order 6 rule 17 and take out maybe about 50 books to see what is the latest case laws of different high courts and what is the final judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, which rules for the entire country to come to a decision, and it would take days for us to come to a conclusion. Now, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, you are living in the age of technology. With just a press of a button, even while I am talking to you, I can take out the latest judgments across the world on the point of, let's say, human rights violation, let's say, some other topic of domestic violence. So this is the age of technology. So technology, if it is used for the betterment of people, public, lawyers, and litigants, then it is good. And I'm sure it will help. So in the legal research, it is a boon and certainly not a bane. As I understand, the several websites and the research on SEC Online, Manupatra or Kanun.com and other research sites, I think there are numerous, which even I may not know, which is provided by Symbiosis Law School, the esteemed organization, which I was having a look, that it is enormous, not only limiting it to India, but even across the other countries. So now it makes it more easier for the students without even going to the library. But I must recommend and advise to the students, just don't go by judgments. Even when I visited the Symbiosis Law School, I saw the library. It's a wonderful library. I must tell the dear students that please, when you are doing research, go into the provision, open up the commentary, read through, understand it. Because once you read through and understand, despite the latest judgment, you will not forget the case law and you will not forget the point of law ever in your life. So this is again a very important aspect which is going to certainly boost artificial intelligence in the non-litigation sphere. I hope I'm not taking too much time. I'm just coming to a conclusion. The other aspects of disadvantages in artificial intelligence, according to me, would be the risk and damages due to cyber threats and hacking and other areas. Now, what is said generally is before the law comes into force, the hackers know how to hack it, and even the police, while conducting investigation in any matter, they call the hackers to hack the system, or if it is locked, to unlock it, because they themselves are not aware how to go about it. The second aspect of disadvantage would be that it's going to be prone to damages. And there would certainly not be a guarantee that it would not create any damage or cause nuisance to the operator, because it is just a machine, like His Lordship said. The third point is, we all understand that as on today, the Indian legal system has no framework framed yet with regard to artificial intelligence, and the law has to be made good to tackle with the situations. My dear friends, you all know that when you open your phone, you get several messages. Now, every one of us are using internet, you are using phone to even buy our groceries, you buy our clothes. If you are doing banking, everything is done on the computer and on your press of the button of your phone. So all this is based on artificial intelligence. The intelligence that is collected by Google is so much that I think more than your parents, the Google knows about you. It knows what dress you want to buy. It knows which restaurant you want to go and what you ate last night and what drink you had the last evening. So it suggests, please go here. And I was just watching one more video which says that, sorry, sir, you should not do this because you also have a cholesterol. So the entire data is already accumulated by the Google about you by saying that you have not had your last medicine. And then by saying so, it also says that you also not paid your tax. So now what I'm trying to say is the entire data is also collected by this Google, which knows everything in and about you. Now, with this in background, I concur with His Lordship Justice Mishra that we have to use artificial intelligence in a very careful manner, in a manner that it can be used for the benefit of mankind and cannot be used in all the spheres of judiciary. I'm sure it can be certainly used in non-litigation side, but how far it is going to impact in the litigation area, apart from what I mentioned on mathematical and algorithm way, is going to be a boon, and in some ways it may even be a bane. Like I said, it's a blessing in disguise that we have during the pandemic started using computers online and other things. So now we'll have to explore using artificial intelligence. Thirdly, now the other aspect of it is, ladies and gentlemen, I must tell the students of law of Symbiosis Law School that you all are very fortunate that you are sitting as a law student, because according to me, I may be biased, there is no other field which is better than a legal field. Because as a medical professional, engineering professional, or banking, or a chartered accountant, or any other professional, I must tell everyone that all of these professionals are only dealing with their respective profession, and they are not dealing into others' profession. Whereas if you see as a law student, when you graduate, either when you are going into litigation or non-litigation, each of the lawyer is certainly dealing in all these spheres along with this legal profession, be it medical negligence, be it a building violation, be it engineering default, or even a banking default. So as a lawyer, though you are only studying law, eventually you are going to be dealing in all these areas, and that is why you are the better person in the society. And also, if you're seen in the history of mankind, the greatest rulers, even in our country, there are several advocates and several persons from the legal field who have occupied the level of even governing the country. Learned senior counsel Sri Gaurav Bhatia is one such example, who is a person who talks about in the national arena on political aspects. So I think I would not take further much time. I must thank the director, the extremely highly educated, qualified director, Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, for inviting me to this program and to be a part of this Conclave 2020 of this esteemed organization. And I'm thankful to be, and I'm grateful and honored to be sharing this platform along with his Lordship Justice Deepak Mishra, who again is one of the alumni of legal profession. And I'm also thankful to be sharing the dais with Senior Advocate Gaurav Bhatia. Thank you once again to everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for your address. The chronological part of your address highlighting the benefits of technology has been extremely insightful, and your personal journey in the field of law that you shared is extremely motivating to us students. Sir, like you mentioned, in the field of research, technology has played a huge role. I remember personally, I recently wrote an analysis on a research paper that was written in the 1880s. And the only thing that I had to do to find the original document was search on the institutionally subscribed online library that our college provides. And so I was able to find a 140-year-old document within a couple of minutes. On behalf of Symbiosis Law School, Pune, sir, I thank you for your address. The keynote speaker for Conclave 2022 is Mr. Gaurav Bhatia. Mr. Bhatia is a senior advocate in the Supreme Court of India and the national spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Mr. Bhatia completed his education in law from the prestigious University of Lucknow. Sir has been an advocate in the Supreme Court of India for over 11 years and has also served as an advocate on record and as the honorable secretary for the Supreme Court Bar Association. Sir has also served as the additional Advocate General of Uttar Pradesh. For his contribution to the legal field, he was honored with the Honorary Mention Award in the Legal Par List 2021 by Forbes in association with Legit Quest. I invite Sir for his keynote address.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
A very good afternoon, everyone. Deepest of respect and greetings to the chief guest of the event, Honorable Mr. Justice Deepak Mishra, former Chief Justice of India, with whom I had the opportunity to work as the Honorary Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association. To the guest of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice Pradeep Singh Yerur, Judge, High Court of Karnataka, who is deeply respected and is known for the judgments that he has authored. It is indeed my privilege to be on the same panel as these legal giants. My distinguished colleagues at the bar who have excelled in the field of law, who would be discussing this topic at length after the first session is over. I would like to thank the Director of Symbiosis, respected Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, and Symbiosis College for giving me this opportunity to share my views on this very relevant topic, which is evolving. And last but not the least, to the future legal giants who would follow the path of legal luminaries like Nani Palkiwala, H.M. Sirvai, and Ram Jethmalani, to the brightest young minds in the country sitting here and who think faster than the artificial intelligence we are talking about. Hello, Symbiosis. Let me begin with the words of someone we all revere, H.M. Sirvai ji. His words are being quoted here by me because they are true and very apt for the topic that we are discussing today. And I quote him, "I realize that some of my criticisms may be mistaken, but to refuse to criticize judgments for fear of being mistaken is to abandon criticism altogether. If any of my criticisms are found to be correct, the cause is served. And if any are found to be incorrect, the very process of finding out my mistakes must lead to the discovery of the right reasons, or better reasons than I have been able to give. And the cause is served just as well." Unquote. The topic that we discuss today is also a topic which is evolving. And thus, like Honorable Mr. Justice Deepak Mishra said, Justice Yerur stated certain very valid points. It is always difficult for a speaker who is following such bright legal minds to formulate the points because most of them remain covered by what they said. However, it would be my endeavor to also give my perspective and take forward the discussion. We all know that the technical definition of artificial intelligence, the somber and the boring definition, I would say, was given in the year 1956. The word artificial intelligence was first adopted by American computer scientist John McCarthy at the Dartmouth Conference. For the first time, AI, artificial intelligence term was used, and the definition stated a system's ability to correctly interpret the data, to learn and interpret data to achieve specific goals. The term artificial intelligence has been used in recent years in almost every field of human life, also in law. But the definition to the common man, something that one can relate to by an example would be the Hollywood movie that we all have seen, Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. If you remember, In the movie, there is a T-800 model, 101 Terminator, a highly advanced robot. This robot was programmed to find and kill one Sarah Connor. There is no doubt that it was very advanced, but the machine did not know which Sarah Connor to target. Thus, it starts eliminating all persons with the same name. So what is the lesson that we can learn from this movie Terminator 1? The movie teaches us machine should not and doesn't become the master. Rather, in Terminator 2, the role was switched. And that is the lesson we have to keep in mind while discussing artificial intelligence. That the machine should be an arm to assist, to protect, to serve the interest of humanity and our citizens, to strengthen our country. The aims have to be that the access to justice for the common citizens is speedy. We have to ensure that even the poorest is not deprived from getting justice because he or she doesn't have the resources to move the higher court or the highest court of the land. The aim ought to be to reassess the processes to make the justice delivery system better. And I remember as the then Chief Justice of India, Justice Deepak Mishra ji, took some very drastic steps to ensure that the case management system, the working of the Supreme Court, the functioning of the e-courts become tool for the common man, for the lawyers to fulfill the duties that have been enshrined in the Constitution for our institution as well as the legal fraternity. In 2020, the government of India, along with Niti Aayog, drafted documents based on launching an oversight body and enforcement of responsible artificial intelligence principles. This clearly shows that various organs under the Constitution, like the judiciary, the executive, as well as the legislature, are working hand in hand. And they are not oblivious to the idea of artificial intelligence and the positives it can offer to us. The following aspects were covered in the Niti Aayog report. Some of them are inspecting and operating principles concerned with responsible artificial intelligence, crystal clear design, structure and process to set particular standards, formation of the legal and technical network, which is being created now, imparting education and making aware about responsible artificial intelligence, creation of new techniques and tools for a responsible artificial intelligence. Now, let us first discuss the advantages that are there. And I remember practicing in the Honorable Supreme Court, serving my institution best to my ability. There was a case where an issue came up that child pornography is rampantly increasing. Now, as we all know, World Wide Web, WWW, is an ocean of information and also information, pictures, and videos that are violative of the dignity of our citizens, especially our children. And the Honorable Supreme Court at that time directed the government to look into the aspect of artificial intelligence being used to scan these millions of websites and to see how these websites that carry child pornography material be curtailed. This example is very valid because even with the best of intentions and with huge resources at times, it would be impossible for a human team to swiftly look at all the material that is available, but at the same time protecting the dignity of a citizen, women, children especially, is also very important. And such an order carried forward the right intentions, and artificial intelligence was used in a proper manner, and several websites and material was brought down. And what is the magnitude of the data that we are dealing with? This is a data to ponder on. Facebook, a social media giant, said company moderators during the last quarter removed around 8.7 million user images of child nudity with the help of previously undisclosed software that automatically flags such photos. Imagine 87 lakh user images of child nudity were removed. Second, I remember that social media today is also a menace. It can be used in a very constructive manner, but at the same time, it can also be a menace if not regulated. So thus, artificial intelligence today can also monitor what kind of content is being posted. Pornography is only one of them. What about material that incites violence, that instigates people, that can lead to a communal riot? It would not be possible for either the judiciary or the police or the intelligence agencies to manually do it. But artificial intelligence definitely helps us in doing that. With the advantages that I have been able to cite, we should also understand that artificial intelligence is hugely dependent on what is being fed, the material, the data that is fed, as mentioned by Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra ji and Justice Yarur. I would just like to say, when I was in the computer science class, there was a very relevant concept. The concept was GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. And what does it show? It shows that if the programmer draws an algorithm or a program which uses irrelevant data, the outcome cannot ever be relevant. Or most of the time, we all know, for lawyers it is genius in, and for the judges it is genius out in terms of judgments. But at times, there are people, petitioner in person, and some lawyers also, who would not argue on the point. So there would be limitations for the machine to deliver justice. And it is one thing to author a judgment, but it is another thing to impart justice, to do complete justice, for which we need empathy, as stated by the earlier speakers. We need judicially trained minds, sensitivity to the cause. Like I remember, there was an unfortunate bomb blast outside the Delhi High Court. The judges in the Supreme Court felt that it is important that they visit the site. There have been a number of trials that have taken place where the honorable judges of the Session Court have decided to visit the site. They assimilate, they absorb with all their senses. Now, artificial intelligence would definitely have limitations there. So therefore, it would not be wrong to say that artificial intelligence cannot be a replacement for the qualities of a human judge. But yes, it can very ably assist, aid, and supplement the efforts of the judiciary and the lawyers and the litigants. Now, Justice Yarur made a very interesting comment, and you all can fully well relate to it, when he said that earlier the research work itself was very tedious. We used to take out the annual digest and then try to find the right case law to be given to our seniors and to be used by us during our arguments. But now with the click of a button, you can find the judgments and go through it. And not just that, just further elaborating. And I'm sure Justice Pradeep Singh Yarur ji will agree with me that now, even the pain that was taken by the clerk, the office, and the advocate to prepare the cause list, search for orders provided to the client has been made easier by artificial intelligence, by programs where you feed in your name and your cause list is prepared within a minute. That is one thing which goes a long way to show that artificial intelligence is here to stay. And it has to be used in aid of delivering justice. And the reasons that I would like to elaborate through my experience would be, when I was pondering over this issue, the judiciary, the Honorable Supreme Court, of which I am a foot soldier, in a landmark judgment of Keshwanand Bharti, laid down the law and the doctrine of basic structure. So the question would be, even the best of artificial intelligence or a supercomputer, with all the inputs that can be given, be able to interpret the constitution of our country in a way to formulate this doctrine and make our democracy more robust? The answer is only the wise judges could have done it. No artificial intelligence could have done it, for the reason that this was jurisprudence at its best. A concept that was within the framework of the Constitution but was unique, was formulated by the honorable judges. No artificial intelligence, being within the parameters of the Constitution, would have thought of such a doctrine to preserve, protect, and strengthen our judiciary as well as the democracy that we serve. Second, the power which the framers of the Constitution gave to the Supreme Court of India, the Article 142, a power to do complete justice. Now we have seen in number of cases like the Bhopal gas tragedy case in the past and more recent case during the COVID pandemic, how the Honorable Supreme Court, not just going by the letter of the law, decided to help the needy, the marginalized citizens who were suffering. And they have in the past exercised the power of Article 142 to do complete justice. Now, this concept of complete justice makes it imperative and strengthens the point that has been made by previous speakers also, that human intervention, human face, empathy, compassion, the spirit to do justice, which is there in human beings, is definitely a quality that cannot be replaced by any artificial intelligence. Let me give you an example from our day-to-day life when we go and assist the court. It's a scenario where a lawyer is arguing before a judge, and I've seen it happening in the courtroom. The lawyer argues for hours. Suddenly he starts coughing and pauses for a few minutes. What would the response of the honorable bench be? The response would always be, please get some water for the counsel. And then very politely, the honorable judges have always offered to the counsel that we will take up the matter on some other date if you're not feeling well. This is the response of a judge who's empathetic to the needs of the lawyers and the litigants. But in another scenario where, say, there is a robot acting as a judge, the lawyer argues and then he starts coughing. He pauses for a minute, then for another minute. The robot judge gets impatient and he says, please continue with the argument. The counsel, being unable to assist, remains quiet. The robot judge says the petition is dismissed as arguments are over. There is no merit in the petition. This clearly goes a long way to show how human intervention is a must. And thus, I would like to end by saying the task of imparting justice, if left alone to artificial intelligence, not with the help of human judges, the artificial intelligence would fail miserably because it cannot assimilate human emotions. It cannot perceive and absorb various circumstances and human emotions the way human judges can. And justice, as we all know, is not always black or white. It is not like walking on a straight line. It is about going out of your way, abiding with law, yet exercising the powers that have been given to the honorable judges. In conclusion, I would say we have to serve the humanity. We have to provide aid and assistance to the needy. We must take aid and assistance from the artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence cannot supplant judicially trained minds. And it is important that the master remains the master, as in Terminator 1 and 2. And the artificial intelligence that we have created does not overtake or starts governing the master and our country. With these words, let me say the famous line of Arnold Schwarzenegger when he said, "Hasta la vista." Thank you for calling me for this conclave. It has been an honor, and I am truly humbled to be sharing the forum with such learned, distinguished panelists like Justice Deepak Mishra, Justice Yerur. And to the future of the country, all these students at Symbiosis, I would say, we have great expectations from you. And in you, we see the future Chief Justices of India. We see legal giants. We see the future law ministers, and all my good wishes to the Dean and faculty of Symbiosis and to all the students who've been so very patient to hear what I had to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. As you mentioned, the job of moderation by artificial intelligence is a key aspect. And another crucial advantage of it that I can think of is protection of the mental health of human moderators. There have been key researches that human moderators face a lot of problems. And so artificial intelligence would be immune to such issues. So you also provided a key reminder that every one of us discussing this topic must remember that the ultimate aim is access to justice for the common people. On behalf of Symbiosis Law School, Pune, sir, I thank you once again. We now come to the legal panel discussion of CONCLAVE 2022. As we mentioned at the very start, the theme of the legal panel discussion is the future of legal practice in the age of artificial intelligence. I would also like to remind everyone that this event is being live streamed to Symbiosis Law School. And for those of you who have joined us through Zoom, you can actually see the live video of the hall where it is being projected in the college in the participants. Just like Justice Yerur mentioned, the High Courts and the Supreme Court have been functioning for a while. This event is in a hybrid mode to ensure maximum participation, safety, and convenience of everyone. Moving now to the legal panel discussion, I would like to briefly introduce the panel members before handing it over to the moderators. The first panelist that we are fortunate to have today is Ms. Ruby Singh Ahuja. Ms. Ahuja is a senior partner at Karanjawala & Co. and an advocate on record at the Supreme Court of India. She is highly regarded for her disputes practice in New Delhi with long-standing experience as an advocate before the Supreme Court, National Company Law Tribunal, and various high courts. She has successfully represented large conglomerates in high-value commercial disputes across various judicial and regulatory fora. She has expertise in a wide range of practice areas, including company law, real estate, pharmaceuticals, land acquisition, commercial and contractual disputes, and insolvency and bankruptcy. Most prominently, alongside her colleagues, she was responsible for resolving India's biggest bankruptcy case, the SR Steel India Limited and ArcelorMittal, recovering a whopping $5.6 billion. Ms. Ahuja was also awarded the runner-up for the Lawyer of the Year title in Asia Pacific Awards. Welcome, ma'am. We're also very fortunate to have with us Mr. Amar Gupta. Mr. Gupta is a founding partner in dispute practices of J. Sagar Associates, a leading Indian law firm. Mr. Gupta completed his legal education from Delhi University and went on to become a founding partner of J. Sagar Associates, where he has been a partner in disputes practice since 2003. He has conducted arbitration in both India and abroad under the aegis of various arbitral institutions such as ICC, LCIA, and SIAC, as well as on an ad hoc basis. He is recognized for his expertise in insolvency law. He was also recognized as litigation star in commercial transactions by Benchmark Litigation in their Asia Pacific 2021 ranking. Mr. Gupta has also been a part of the Asia Legal 500 for dispute practice for 3 consecutive years. Welcome, sir. We are also joined today by Ms. Pooja Chakravarti. Ms. Chakravarti has graduated from Symbiosis Law School, Pune, and completed her Bachelor of Civil Law from the University of Oxford in UK. She is a partner at Argus Partners and has over 14 years of experience in the field. Ms. Chakravarti is an expert in the areas of commercial litigation, public interest litigation, arbitration, banking, constitutional law, real estate, and intellectual property matters. She regularly appears before the High Courts at Kolkata, Mumbai, and Delhi, the Supreme Court of India, National Company Law Tribunals, the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, debt recovery tribunals, and other quasi-judicial authorities, and in arbitration proceedings as well. She regularly acts for and advises multinational companies, public sector undertakings, banks, and financial institutions. Welcome, ma'am. Finally, we are also really honored to be joined by Mr. Navarre Roy. He is the founder and principal attorney at law offices of Navarre Roy. His field of specialization includes intellectual property and corporate law matters, and he also specializes in negotiating and drafting contracts. He is often found dealing with high-profile cases involving audit and valuation of IP assets of various entities, and recently concluded a transaction involving the valuation of audio and video content rights owned by a media and entertainment company. He arranges lectures on copyright for postgraduate students at Madras University as well. He is a recipient of a scholarship for a specialized course on intellectual property valuation conducted by the World Intellectual Property Organization and the LUISS Business School, along with the Italian Intellectual Property Office. Welcome, sir. I would also like to inform everyone present that Advocate Menaka Guruswamy was also scheduled to join us today. However, we were informed in the morning that due to some personal emergency, she would not be able to make it to this panel discussion. With that, I would now like to introduce the moderator for this discussion, Professor Dr. Bindu Ronald, as well as the co-moderator, Professor Lasya Vyakranaman. I invite the moderators to take over for the legal panel discussion of Conclave 2022.
Thank you very much, Vikrant. A very good afternoon to all our esteemed guests and panelists to this Conclave 2022 with the theme Future of Legal Practice in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. I will begin with placing on record our gratitude to Justice Deepak Mishra, Justice Pradeep Singh Yarur, and Mr. Gaurav Bhatia for setting the stage for this panel discussion through their very erudite addresses as part of Conclave 2022. As Vikrant mentioned, I'm Professor Dr. Bindu Ronald, and I will be moderating this panel discussion along with my colleague, Professor Lasya Vyakaranam. Over a decade of SYMBHAV, 14 years to be precise, and SYMBHAV has surely become one of the most coveted student fests in the country, which has a very balanced combination of co-curricular and extracurricular aspects, and where the minds are stimulated. This conclave and panel discussion in its 5th edition promises to be a very, very interesting event with our very eminent guests and panelists. Artificial intelligence is a branch of science, a field concerned with building smart machines, computers and robots controlled by computers capable of performing tasks typically done by humans, or technology that automates tasks that require human intelligence. They mimic human intelligence. Alexa is running the show now. We have driverless cars. We have Google translators. Name it, and where a few years ago you required humans to do things, today AI aids computers and robots to perform these tasks as efficiently. Makes us sit up and think if AI has reached close to replacing humans in a lot of areas. AI is currently used in legal arena as for e-discovery, expertise, automation, legal research, document management, etc. The consequences of AI entering the legal arena has far-reaching consequences, where a lot of work which was earlier done by judges and lawyers is now being performed by AI. By Ricardo's comparative advantage theory, it will lead the judges and lawyers to do more refined work, perhaps those works where emotional intelligence is required and where AI can falter and cannot replace humans. AI in future will definitely boost technologies to improve efficiency of the legal institution. And in the legal arena, AI can aid in improving administrative efficiency in the process of aiding justice dispensation. It is yet to be seen if AI can actually replace lawyers and judges in the near future, especially because justice delivery also requires a fair amount of emotional intelligence, like was stated. While there is a lot of development in the field of AI and its interplay with the legal arena, there is still a need for an efficient legal framework actually to harness the AI's conduct in order to avoid those risks that are there connected with it. While we acknowledge the benefits of AI in the legal system, it is also important to contemplate the challenges that are there, which are posed by AI. There are emerging technologies that are there, such as blockchain revolution, which has its own impact as far as the legal field is concerned. Use of AI technology in aiding pending or pendency of cases will definitely expedite decision-making process. And if you see, technology advancement in the field of AI is phenomenal. However, it leads to certain concerns that are there, such as misuse of data, data protection, privacy, etc. And calibrating corporate governance with AI will soon become an area which will require immediate attention with regulatory implications. With this very brief opening remarks, let's now proceed to hear our very eminent panelists on the themes of today's conclave, which is very close to the hearts of each and every one of the speakers today. And before I ask our esteemed panelists to give their opening statements, as a moderator, I will want to inform each of the panelists that they have about 7 to 8 minutes to speak on the theme. And we now open the forum for the panel discussion. Let me start by first inviting Ms. Ruby Singh Ahuja, Senior Partner, Karanjawal and Company, to share her thoughts as part of her opening statements. To you, ma'am.
Thank you, Professor Bindu. Good afternoon to all the esteemed guests, Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra, Honorable Justice Pradeep Singh, my good friend Gautam Bhatia, Madam Dr. Shashikala, Professor Lavasya, and all the students of Symbiosis Law School. I'm extremely honored to be here, and I'm very thankful to them. I'm especially thankful to Sarthak, who has been quite good and has answered all my umpteen questions, and I have disturbed him time and again. Thank you so much. Now, let me go back to the topic. So, the question today, before we go further, which I asked somebody when I got this mail from Symbiosis Law School, as to what is artificial intelligence. So I was told that artificial intelligence is when computer gets involved, analyzes, and also participates in the decision-making process. Professor Bindu just said that artificial intelligence is when the computer is capable of undertaking tasks which can be done by human beings. So then what is my second question to myself? Is the computer, or is this so-called modes of artificial intelligence, are they becoming judges? Because if they can analyze and decide, then are they judges? Well, I don't think so. The answer is so simple, or it can be put in black or white. Having said that, there has been, having said that, I was told that, for example, with the tools of artificial intelligence, one can assess and gauge as to whether a criminal before the court of law asking for bail is a flight risk or not. Should that person be granted bail or not? The moment I heard this, and I read about it also in some detail, the question which also will come to any legal mind will be this: that does the use of tools of artificial intelligence somewhere take away the sine qua non of any decision-making process, which is a fair and independent decision-making? Because what are we saying here? We are saying here that there can be a software which can be developed by another human being behind the computer scene, which can put the data is fed in by another human being, which is a very, very crucial ingredient of any artificial intelligence. And based on the data, the analysis can be done. So the tool can gauge whether this person is a flight risk or not. Absolutely similarly, as though this tool can engage whether the use of the card is a credit card is fraudulent or not. So, in my view, this much use of artificial intelligence to this extent takes away a very, very important ingredient, which is fair and impartial. It brings in it an element of dishonesty. And I will tell you why I say so. Do you remember you are being taught in law school, and we were taught in law school, that master the facts of the case and law will take its own course. So what were we taught? We were taught that each case has its important and peculiar facts. All cases cannot be put into a straitjacket formula. So if that is the case, then how a use of a machine or a software which is relying upon a data and information fed by another person, bring a judgment which is fair, impartial, and not dishonest. Because ultimately, the person behind the computer, are you substituting your judges with another human being who has the power to feed into the computer? Because data is, after all, collated by somebody else. And what happens in a conventional system? The facts are analyzed, read, understood, discussed by judges. Judges apply their mind in a fair and impartial manner to understand what is there before them. Because law, even if all the softwares we have had, from Manu Patra to SCC Online, where we can click a button and do our research, we do not need to open any books. I doubt we are opening any commentaries anymore. In spite of this technology, if I may say, lap of technology, where we are now using virtual system for everything. We are sitting in Delhi, speaking to people all over India. It cannot be said that the decision-making power and analysis of legal cases, which are highly complex, and as my friend Gaurav Bhatia rightly said, which also involve empathy to a large extent, especially when it comes to human right violations, matrimonial disputes, criminal cases, grant of bail, you cannot bring these tools of artificial intelligence. Second point is that does use of artificial intelligence into the legal system also bring an element of inequality? And why so? It brings an element of inequality because, as I again say, it relies upon the data which is fed into the system, which is collated. Data can be collated from various resources, from private company, from government resources, from anything. So the moment, if suppose, somebody wants to be biased towards a particular caste, creed, color, what happens to that? The moment that sort of data is fed into the system, the analysis is according to that. So the judges, when you argue before the honorable judges, they do not see the color and caste and creed of a litigant before them. They are taught to be impartial. They are absolutely oblivious to the caste and the creed. Now, my argument can easily be, somebody can countenance and says, but even human mind is biased. Why not? If the bias of computer is there, then even sometimes human mind is also biased. After all, we are vulnerable to many things in life. Even sometimes honorable judges are. But let's not forget one very important thing. The bias of an honorable judge, if at all, is very, you can see it with naked eye. But the problem within this artificial intelligence and reliance of somebody to analyze and decide for the honorable judge is that there is a charade of objectivity. So the charade of when there is a charade of objectivity and you feel that it's not, because legal cases is not 2 + 2 = 4. Sometimes judges find, in spite of so much law on how child custody is to be decided, how visitation rights to be decided, I'm sure the honorable judges on the panel will tell that it is sometimes very, very difficult for them to decide those complex issues, which are actually not complex issues of law for them. They are very simple issues of law, but they become complex issues of fact and human emotion. So in my mind, that the use of artificial intelligence in legal cases or using it in decision making, I can understand the artificial intelligence is being used for legislating, for analyzing what are the problems, for example, how Arbitration Act is being covered in India, what are the problems corporates are finding while they opt for arbitration, what are the numbers, how many people are opting for institutionalized arbitration, how many people are opting for ad hoc arbitration. You use it for legislation. But for my mind, it is as a litigator, I cannot put my finger to say that it should be used by the honorable in a decision making process. We cannot substitute computer with the honorable judges. The judiciary, the decision making is an art. They are trained to do that. In fact, I was speaking to somebody, and a very honorable retired judge, who told me that beyond a point, I do not even rely upon the research done by my court clerk. Because he says that I do not want their perspective. I don't want my perspective, to be clouded by their perspective. So the question here is that since the artificial intelligence is susceptible to fall to another human being's hand, it is not, and it can never be a great idea to just supersede it with human beings when they decide a particular thing. So I think I will leave it to the other panelists. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your views on the topic, and where you spoke about how artificial intelligence cannot replace humans as far as the bar and bench are concerned. And human emotions definitely play a very, very important role as far as justice dispensation is concerned. Thank you very much. And now we will move to our next panelist, Mr. Amar Gupta, partner Jaisagar Associates, to give his opening statement. Over to you, sir. So you're not audible. Can you put on the microphone?
My apologies. Hello, Symbiosis, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Organizers, thank you very much for having me over in the midst of you. Let me begin my statement with a quote from Arthur C. Clarke, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Artificial intelligence is the magic of our times. It is part of our lives. Alexa, Siri, Google Maps that we use daily in our lives are all AI applications. AI is deployed across a number of industries, making it possible to complete laborious tasks with more speed, accuracy, and efficiency. The legal sector, too, is incrementally adopting it. Although the legal services market is one of the largest in the world, it is still under digitized in its operations. Artificial intelligence has the potential to transform the way we practice law and our courts administer justice. In 2018, the Horizon Scanning Forward Thinking report from the Law Society of England and Wales offered ideas for a number of ways AI could be used in the legal sector. This included case and practice management systems, document review applications, predictive analytics applications for predicting case outcome, chatbots that would support client queries, and many more. In 2022, we find that many of those applications have been put to use and deployed very effectively to achieve efficiency and speed in practice of law and in administration of justice. Artificial intelligence is finding exciting new applications and changing workflows in many industries. Before AI, the discovery process for a complex litigation may have required large teams of dozens or more attorneys to analyze and review and analyze tons of documents and data for weeks or months. With AI, the process can be completed in a few hours or days, and findings can be made available far more quickly. As law firms and lawyers put their clients' sensitive data into cloud system, they are automatically primed as attractive target for cyber attacks. Fortunately, AI systems and innovators are a step ahead. The design incorporations are being adopted, which attack, detect, and protect the AI systems and applications. The innovators are also able to model potential hacker, simulating attacks and creating circumstances prior to the attacks. The ability of courts to provide fair and swift justice to its citizens is not only one of the most important obligations of any country, but is a primary pillar of democracy. India, which prides itself as being the world's largest democracy, remains wanting when it comes to the judicial system and administration of justice for ordinary litigant. It struggles with one of the world's largest backlog of pending cases, which we can debate about the reasons for pendency, but we can't escape the fact. The AI tools which are now available can ease the situation. With the case management system, research tools, document review tools, justice delivery will certainly speed up and quality of judicial decision will surely improve. There are exciting developments taking place in the field of AI applications. With the development in natural language processing, neural network, deep learning capabilities, exciting new possibilities are unfolding. We are at the cusp of a technology revolution. Our legal fraternity must gear up to embrace it. I share the concerns that my friend Ruby pointed out with regard to the flaws of AI processes, possibility of bias on account of the data set that has been provided for training the AI system, the artificial intelligence system, or the bias on account of design. These are genuine and valid concerns. But does that mean that we shun and eschew technology? I think not. To my mind, it is an opportunity to explore solutions, innovate, and ensure that those deficiencies are cured and rectified, and that systems are more fair, objective, and transparent. There is no question of the AI systems or AI machines to replace judges. At least in imaginable future, I don't see that possibility. And the reasons are briefly stated. There are three reasons that I think that is not a possibility in near future. The machines lack consciousness. They do not have first person or third person perspective. At least at the current stage of development, that's not a reality that within reach. The second limitation of machine is the inability to reason and rationalize the conclusion it makes. It is able to provide the conclusion, its findings and its analysis, but it is not able to provide reasons and conclusions. And the third aspect on which the previous speakers have alluded to is the lack of the inability or incapacity for compassion, for ethics, for morality. Incapacity to comprehend those values, compassion, ethics, and morality is a serious limitation of the machines. And that, to my mind, rules out the possibility, at least in near future, of taking over the jobs of the judges. I end my statement with a quote from Steve Jobs. Let's go invent tomorrow instead of worrying about what happened yesterday. And guess what? I got this quote through Google search.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your views with all of us. Artificial intelligence has definitely been part of our lives today, and technology players are innovating and improving technology, and new technologies are being unfolded every day. Though you agreed with the concerns which were raised by Madam Ruby Singh, yet you're open to allowing AI to be used in the legal arena. And it is definitely here to stay, I think. Thank you very much, and we'll come back to you, sir. But before that, I will now invite Mr. Navari Roy, Principal Attorney, Law Office of Navari Roy, to share with us his opening statements.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here on the panel. Well, thank you for the opportunity, both to Symbiosis as well as the Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra, Justice Pradeep Singh, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, Dr. Gurpur, all the other panelists and the students. Well, it's really a privilege to be here and to be a part of this session. I think we are running a bit on time, so I will jump right in terms of what we are discussing in terms of three main things. One is the need. Two is where we can possibly use AI, the fear, and possibly the way forward. So in terms of the need, I think it's very clear, based on the very fact that we're having this discussion, that the world that we live in and how things are changing drastically and dramatically, artificial intelligence is definitely here to stay. And it's something that the way that we're moving forward as well. If you look at the metaverse, if you look at the move towards cryptocurrency, if you look at the move towards digital assets, it's clearly the direction in which we are moving. So as a profession, we either need to adapt or we sort of think on the basis of what's going on around us. I think it's also a recognized need. This is clear even through, I think just 2 days ago, there was a report on the parliamentary committee report evaluating the intellectual property regime. And one of the key aspects of it was discussing AI inventorship. So what happens with work that's created by artificial intelligence? This has been discussed a bit, both in terms of copyright as well as including patents, because we've had, I think, courts in Australia which have granted rights to a new patent which was granted based on an artificial intelligence inventor. And we also see so many streams of music where music being created by AI. So I think there's definitely a need, and the government's also looking at it as a requirement to address. So I think that's sort of done and dusted. But the question right now is where could we use AI? So I think as practitioners, there are three sort of elements. One is with regard to the practice of law itself. And we have seen, I think other members on the panel have already discussed it, as well as the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, with regard to legal research, with regard to trying to, render services to our clients in a more efficient manner. So for instance, document review, as well as judgment research. These are the two sort of elements and areas in which AI has been used effectively and is sort of growing constantly with regard to, say, for instance, identifying errors in a contract, identifying clauses which are there in other similar contracts. There's a whole lot of work that's been done on the legal tech front of things. I think since we know that there's a need and where it can be used, I think one aspect is also with regard to the dispensation of justice, which we've been discussing right now, as to whether artificial intelligence can make decisions and can render maybe judgments. We probably aren't there at this stage, but who's to say how things will go forward? But that's also an aspect where we can use. In terms of the fear, I think there's a fair bit of fear, and that's sort of, right from the cited examples of the Terminator, as well as to, replacement of jobs. I think it comes down a bit to our insecurities with regard to, are we going to be replaced? Is my role going to be replaced by something that can do an aspect of my work more efficiently than me? And the truth is, there may be certain elements of work which could be done better than an artificial intelligence system. For instance, when it comes down to contract review, and when it comes down to aspects of just checking clause references, punctuation, and a whole lot of elements like that, I'm pretty certain that a system would do that far better than I can. So there's also issues that have come up with regard to hacking, as well as data privacy. So yes, there is a fear, both in terms of rational fears with regard to what could happen, as well as some of our own personal insecurities with what it is. But I think in terms of the way forward that we would have to look at is a sort of combined approach, where we use human element plus artificial intelligence. And I think this was sort of covered in a book by David Epstein called Range. And in that, he sort of talks about chess. And within chess, there was, I think in the 1997, there was Garry Kasparov, who was the Grand Chess Master at that time, who sort of played Deep Blue, which was an artificial intelligence supercomputer, and actually lost to it. So when evaluating that, he came up with saying, chess and the way the computer beat him was on the basis of tactics, where there are certain repeated actions that keep coming out, and that he could be replaced by a computer. But a few years later, they sort of developed something called freestyle chess, where they had hybrid teams of both humans and computers working. And so what came out was tactics is something that a system can do, but overall strategy is something that humans can do and are much better at. So I think going forward, what we'd also need to look at within the judiciary, whether it is delivery of judgments, would be to use the tactics element of it outsourced to an AI system, giving you the background of, a history, as well as what the previous judgments are like, and the ultimate decision being made by a human. And I think that sort of combination is where we would need to go. And the reason is, when it comes down to justice, I think we'd probably have to look at even what Shakespeare said with regard to Portia's court. Only when we've got mercy seasoned with justice is there going to be any justice. So that's what I would say. I would say it's something that we can't ignore. And going forward, it has to be a sort of combined effort of the two. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, as a profession, we need to adapt and sync with the changes that are there, which are engulfing every sphere that is there today. And definitely there is a need for AI. And like you said, AI is being used in practice area and in other areas that are there as far as the legal arena is concerned. We could use AI to effectively assist us in the justice dispensation that is there. And we don't disagree that they cannot be as effective as humans in certain areas, but at the same time, there are certain things where we should let the artificial intelligence to assist us as far as the justice administration and justice system is concerned. Thank you very much. And now we will have Ms. Pooja Chakravarti, who is the partner of Argus Partners, with her opening statements. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, honorable dignitaries, respected Dean Mrs. Gurpur, respected faculty, esteemed guests, and my dear students. It gives me great pleasure to come back here and address and be a part of this panel as I'm an ex-student of this college. And I'm really happy to be a part of this today. Thank you for having me here. Much has been said about what AI is and what AI can do. Now, if we go back to the book definition of AI, it is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. Now, Justice Deepak Mishra also elaborated on what intelligence means, so I would not go there. So the most important fields are currently machine learning and predictive analytics, natural language processing, comprising classification, clustering, and information extraction. Now, in the legal arena, AI is already being used in document discovery, in legal research, document management, documents analysis, and also in predictive analysis to predict the outcome of litigation. Now, as far as AI and its impact on the legal system is concerned, I was hearing the other panelists mention that there is this reasonable apprehension. Will it replace lawyers? Will we be out of our jobs? Will there be the law firm structure entirely destroyed? Well, I am reminded of the Kodak and Nikon story. So Kodak was this extremely market dominating camera brand, which used to use the analog technology. So when Nikon introduced the digital technology in cameras, it refused to adapt and change to it because it was so confident that its analog technology is one of the best and it will be able to maintain its position using that. But alas, we all know what happened in future. So Nikon is there while Kodak has effectively vanished from the market scene. So AI is here and it is here to stay. And as lawyers and as members of the legal field, we should adapt to AI and we should accept it in our lives. Now, how does AI function? It is actually simulation of the mental capacity of human beings in machines. It is programmed to think like humans and copy their actions. And it can be applied in learning and problem solving. Now, it acts typically like a junior lawyer would. It acquires requisite knowledge, it extracts the data from the documents, and by repeating and doing an action over and over again, it evaluates its errors, rectifies them, and develops itself. That is how an AI functions. And we all know, and I would like to elaborate later in detail, how AI is being used by the legal faculty and also in the courts presently, even in India, as well as the other countries. Now, one important apprehension that we should have about AI is the issue of accountability. Now, when a lawyer there is an action that I want to challenge in a lawyer, he's being negligent, or there has been a mistake on his part, the lawyer is accountable for it. But in case that mistake is done by an AI, who is accountable? You cannot hold the machine liable. So are its creators accountable? How do we go about it? And if, let's say, it is a server situated in a different country, or technically the server has no existence at all, what if it is a cloud? So how do I go about it and initiate an action against it? So these are issues that are very interesting and would come up in the future when we have more and more of AI in our legal system and use it more often. Now, as legal system, of course, we also would have to learn and adapt to the AI. The AI also needs to be developed so that it can supplement and it can help us in carrying out our functions. Now, as far as the issues regarding the AI replacing the judiciary is concerned, of course, it cannot be seen as something that will happen in near future. But then again, nobody knows how the AI systems would be developed, whether it is possible. Researchers have shown that even empathy can be brought and introduced in an AI system where it's actually with an access to the human subconsciousness, an AI machine can also feel empathy. So it is very interesting to note. And of course, we have to wait and see what the future holds for us. And lastly, I would like to say, we have to be prepared to culturally adopt AI in our lives and in the legal system, because very little is really known about its functioning. It's gradually increasing. As I see, there are smart contracts being executed between parties. The blockchain is being used. So that can be used in introducing tamper-proof evidence to the courts in form of a blockchain. So the possibilities are numerous. So as the legal fraternity, we cannot be shut to those possibilities. We should embrace AI with open arms and then see where it leads us. Of course, notwithstanding, we have to have safeguards, protect ourselves against security issues, protect ourselves against right to privacy issues that I can elaborate on later, and take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pooja Chakravarti, and we're really very happy to have you, our very own alumni from Symbiosis Law School, as part of this panel discussion. And thank you very much for giving your views on AI and its impact that is there as far as the legal system is concerned, and the newer things that are coming and its relation that is there. Thank you very much for the very interesting thoughts that each one of you shared with us over here. And we have a few questions that are there, which are for our panelists. And I would now request my co-panelist, Professor Lasya Vyakaranam, to come forth and take over from here.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And it has indeed been a very interesting discussion. Even with the opening remarks, we've been seeing different perspectives coming through. There is a sense of hesitation or resistance to go into adapting AI. But I think it'll be fair to say that a common sentiment that exists is that we can have the AI aid, but not abate the judicial process completely. Yeah. So we have taken a survey of 500 odd students where we have the survey results as a result of it, but we would like to have the panelists comment on some of these questions, and also based on your opening statements and what we have been discussing so far. So the first question is, considering the colossal amounts of paperwork that is required by the Indian legal system, are you of the opinion that the usage of AI can aid in the reduction of the same? So here we are talking about the amount of paperwork and data. We're talking about big data here, but not necessarily big data analytics, where it is still being done in a manual way, etc. So what would be the demarcations of what should be handled by an AI, or what should be handed over to human control because of the elements of compassion and morality that we have been talking about? So I would like to invite Mr. Amar Gupta to first give his comments on this, please.
I think to a large extent, the e-court system, which has been put in place in some of the courts, that addresses, that actually attempts to deal with the paper problem. And what we as a profession need to do is to create more and more e-courts at the state level and at the district court level. And that will be enabled if we are able to put together at the institutional level case management and the court system. Unfortunately, we have been lacking in that regard. Last 2 years of pandemic was a great opportunity for us to, as a profession and the court system as an institution, to put together the technology for enabling court hearings in a customized technology for conducting court hearings and the case management system. Unfortunately, our courts are still using WebEx and Zoom, etc., which are not suited for court hearings, despite the fact that India is source of biggest innovations today, and it is a technology hub for the world. We did not exploit the opportunity that was available to us. I hope in future we do that. We create customized court hearing platforms and case management, as well as the case administration system. The result will be that the physical location of the participant in the legal system, the lawyer, the judges, and the officers of the court staff, will really become irrelevant. And the hearings can be conducted at any time and anywhere. and the paper will become, if not totally redundant, it will become far fewer. So there was an opportunity. Unfortunately, we did not avail that opportunity to do the best which we could, and we have the capability to do that. Hopefully, perhaps in a future day, we will overcome those and we will do what is required.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. It's true that there is this impending fear of losing jobs, like Mr. Navari also pointed out, to the AI, and that there has been a lapse or a gap in between where we could have exploited the opportunity to transfer this paperwork into AI-based systems. So I would like to invite Mr. Navari's opinions or thoughts on this point.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, let's look at one aspect. I definitely think the answer is yes to this. If we look at the intellectual property aspect of it, since that's where my sort of experience lies, if you look at the trademark office alone from, say, about 10 to 12 years ago, when everything was, paper filing, there was no online system, to where we are right now, where trademarks used to take about 7 to 8 years, or sometimes even 10, 12 years to get granted, to now where we have registrations in a matter of months, purely on the basis of the fact that everything is online. So now our applications are filed online, the examination reports are issued, we're doing video conferences for our hearings. So yes, a move towards digital will help. I think we can, although just the trademark office volumes are much lower than the overall judicial system, but I think we can see that it's definitely possible and doable if there is will towards shift in that direction. I would also agree with Mr. Gupta that we did have a huge opportunity in the last couple of years, the last 2 years, in fact, because it was a necessity for us to move towards that. But at the same time, I also see that a fair number of people are very happy now that things have gone back to physical and going back to everything, going back to paper. Well, so I think as a profession, we are very traditional, and everybody still prints out and reads and highlights. Well, not everybody, I think that's a bad generalization, but we are very traditional and sort of conservative in our outlook to anything new. So I think if the answer, so to come back to it, the answer is definitely yes. If we sort of move towards it, we definitely would be able to implement this in a much faster and stronger way.
I just want to make an intervention here, if I may be permitted.
Sure, sir. Okay,
so 3/4 of the code process can actually be done virtually. And it's the 1/4 where physical presence is of great value. And that 3/4 of the process actually takes the maximum of the time. And that I think as a profession and the court system as an institution must gear up to put it on the virtual platform. The pleadings, the rounds of pleadings, service, and the interlocutory hearings, they don't have to be done over days and months and years. And it's a sheer waste of time and human resource. We are a young country. We are impatient. We need the things done quickly. And only way to do things quickly is to put that 3/4 of the court process on the virtual platform, compress the timeline for that section of the court process, and I can tell you that a lot of our problems of our justice delivery system will be addressed by that.
Right, sir. That has been the overall impression from our survey as well. There is 97% of the responders who said that they believe that there can be an opportunity for artificial intelligence to spread throughout the legal process in that way. And taking a cue from that timeliness dimension that you mentioned, the next question that we have here is if we believe that the implementation of the AI-enabled programs will expedite the progress of the cases, thereby relieving the overwhelming caseload on the Indian judiciary. So as a practitioner and working in the area of intellectual property and artificial intelligence and some of those areas, I would like to invite Ms. Pooja Chakravarti, if she would like to comment on this. with respect to the expediting the process, we know that the amount of burden that there is on our judiciary is very high in terms of the number of cases that are pending at each level of judiciary. So not only do you think that is possible, but also in what way do you think that the AI enabled programs would be able to relieve the caseload? Because we've already spoken about the dimensions that you already brought up about the accountability issue. So just connecting that with this question, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, sure. Thank you. So generally, just taking the question from the beginning. So what does a judge essentially do when we talk about the enormous burden of the judiciary? So the courts are essentially a part of them fact finding. Then they analyze the facts, they apply the law, and they apply equitable principles, justice, conscience, good conscience, equity, and they deliver a judgment in which justice is seen to be done to a party deserving it. Now, as far as the involvement of AI to relieve the burden of judges are concerned, we can break it up into two issues. Number one would be whether AI, with the help of AI, we can assist the judges so that their work becomes faster and they are expeditiously able to dispose of more cases progressively and their burdens are lighter. Or there could also be a situation where an AI, to an extent at least, replaces a judge and carries out the function of the judge. In that aspect also, the work of a judge will become simpler because burden will be lessened. Now, as far as the first aspect is concerned, the answer to it is a thumping yes, because definitely we can use AI in very many ways where we can lighten the burden of the judges. For instance, in the US, we already have some risk assessment tools that Justice Mishra was mentioning earlier. We have the Compass, we have the PSA. So what these tools generally do is they extract the data from information available and they create a profile of the offenders. So, and the PSA, in fact, goes a step forward and also makes a decision as to whether that offender is likely to commit a second offense or not. So these, when a judge is sitting in court, let's say deciding on a bail application, these information is already available with him. So he would not have to go through all the details, documents and matters of record and all the records to arrive at a decision whether it would be safe to release this person out in the society or not. Now, that is one aspect of it. But the flip side of this is, like it was discussed throughout in this seminar, that we always associate a human element that the judge brings to the bench. He also is able to appreciate the conditions and the circumstances under which a litigant is coming to court. Now, an AI, which is only extracting data, analyzing and assimilating them and arriving at a quantitative analysis of a problem, may not be able to assess that, at least in the present circumstance. Now, I only mentioned that an AI is also capable of empathy, but the amount of research and the time that is necessary for an AI to reach that level and let's say sit as a judge on a bench is definitely not something that we can foresee in early future. So for this reason, though these materials are available with the judge, but the objective reasoning, the reasoning for which a judge is arriving at a particular decision to decide a matter, is the only a human element presently that can happen. So as far as India is concerned, very recently there was this program launched by the Supreme Court of India. It is called the SCI Interact, where actually 17 benches of the Supreme Court went paperless. So it is a program where the judges can see the judges brief on their systems, make comments, make observations, and it is not visible to anybody. So I think technology-wise, this is a huge step because this has, I think, helped them in deciding the cases faster and reducing the burden that is there on the judiciary. So steps like this, as in using, for instance, Mr. Gupta mentioned that during the COVID times, we all had on the advantage of online filing and virtual hearing, which would obviously lessen the burden on the judiciary, make it easier for us and for the judges to go through. But however, he rightly pointed out, we could not take full advantage of it because we are really going back to that old system of attending courts physically. So its future will only say how far AI can assist the judges and help so that the burden, the overwhelming caseload on the Indian judiciary is relieved.
Thank you very much for that response. And as you pointed out as well, we've had 83% of the responders of the survey be of the view that the implementation of artificial intelligence enabled programs in the judiciary will certainly aid in accelerating the progress of our cases. But there is also a common belief that incorporating this kind of AI into the legal industry could potentially result in the exploitation of its clients' data. So there is a real fear surrounding the usage of AI more extensively in legal fraternity and also in some other sectors as well, with respect to these privacy issues, which are very real. So I'd like for one of the panelists to comment on these privacy issues that can be faced by judiciary, people in the judiciary. And I would like to invite Mr. Amar Gupta, if you would like to share your thoughts and comments on this question.
Sure. It is true that there are serious privacy issue and data security issue once the large amount of personal and confidential data, including commercial information, sensitive commercial information, are put out on IT systems, cloud systems. But the correct response to that is not to eschew technology, to shun technology. The correct response to that is to bring in innovation, to ensure that those flaws are rectified, and create data governance framework, regulatory framework for ensuring data security. We are still struggling with the draft law, and the law is still in the making. Many jurisdictions and the delay, the time that is being taken is understandable. These are very complex questions and they're not easily answered. Most jurisdictions world over are struggling with the perfect framework, legal framework to regulate data. So the concerns are genuine, but the correct response is not to shun technology, but to adopt it and have innovations to cure those flaws and create legal framework to secure the data that is being put out in the system.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so to maybe get even more of a finer point, as a technical expert in IP law, could I now request Mr. Navarre to share your thoughts on the privacy issues that are surrounding AI, and what do you think with respect to our current legal system? Are we able to support those privacy concerns, or what needs to be done? Is there a lacuna that we can point out, or something that we need to work towards? Could we have your thoughts or opinions on that, please?
Sure. I think actually Mr. Gupta, who's just gone ahead, has already sort of covered that very well. I think it's true, these concerns are real, and I think the solution is framework, which, like he had mentioned, is still, well, it has been in the works for quite some time, and we're still sort of waiting out on that bill, which I think 2019, so we're already 3 years down and still going on. So, you know, that to that extent, I definitely think we need to be more proactive on that, and you know, sort of fix that in and at least put it in place, because the right answer is regulating and making sure that we have the teeth in place so that the judiciary can act on violations of that kind. So I would say I'd have to echo Mr. Gupta's sentiment on that one.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Due to the paucity of time, we've been asked to conclude with the discussion session over here. And we will be moving on. I'd like to thank all the panelists for your opinions. I would also like to thank Ms. Ruby for putting her thoughts and the opening statement, which has been very relevant to the topic that we've been discussing about here. So in order to, also we would be just skipping over the students' question and answer session right now, because also a lot of these questions have been answered through the course of the opening remarks as well as the discussion that the panelists have carried out. So in order to close this session, I would like to invite Dr. Aparajita Mohanty ma'am to kindly deliver the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Lasya. On behalf of management of Symbiosis, Dean, Faculty of Law and Director of Symbiosis Law School, Pune, Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, faculty, staff, and students of Symbiosis Law School, Pune, it's indeed an honor and privilege on my part to deliver a formal vote of thanks. I convey a sincere note of thanks to our chief guest for the event, Honorable Mr. Justice Deepak Mishra, former Chief Justice of India, for gracing the occasion with his presence. Sir, your words of wisdom and your unparalleled knowledge shall always be treasured by all of us. Thank you, sir. And we indeed look forward to the day when you can grace us with your presence physically again and share your thoughts with our students. I extend a sincere note of gratitude to our guest of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice Pradeep Singh Yarur, for consenting to be a part of Conclave 22 and shared his thoughts with our students on the pertinent issue of future of legal practice in the age of AI. Sir, the advice rendered to the students is extremely noteworthy. I thank our keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, for his words of wisdom and inspiration. Sir, you have been one of the role models whom the students in the legal fraternity have been looking up to. Thank you for accepting the invitation and being part of Conclave, which has been planned and meticulously executed by the Student Advisory Board of Symbiosis Law School, Pune. I thank our panelists for today's legal panel discussion come interactive session, Ms. Ruby Singh Ahuja, Mr. Amar Gupta, Mr. Naver Roy, and Ms. Pooja Chakravarti for agreeing to be our panelists for today. The points of view expressed and the discussions in the panel have indeed raised the bar and added to the repository of knowledge in the field. I am sure this will provide our students food for thought and further research. I thank Dr. Shashikala Gurpur, Director of Symbiosis Law School, Pune, for always being the guiding light and a constant source of knowledge, wisdom, and inspiration for our students. Madam, like any true guru, you have guided the students in all their endeavors, both with strict vigil as well as with gentle care. Students' interest has always been foremost in your mind. I thank you on behalf of the student community of Symbiosis Law School, Pune. We are extremely thankful to the moderators for the event, Dr. Bindu Ronald and Professor Lasya Vyakaranam, for navigating the entire panel discussion in a seamless manner. I thank Professor Kshitij Naikade, Faculty Head SYMBHAV, Dr. Dhanaji Jadhav, and Advocate Sangramjit Chauhan, Faculty Advisor for SYMBHAV, for their guidance and support. I thank all my colleagues, staff, especially IT department, without whose support an event of such measure couldn't have been conducted. A special note of appreciation to the Conclave Committee, the heads, Nipun and Sarthak, and their whole team for facilitating the efficient conduct of the event and for putting up in a great amount of efforts in the organization of Conclave 2022. Last but not the least, I thank the students who have attended both offline as well as online mode, attended the conclave both in offline and online mode, and for being such an interactive and engaging audience, adding more life to the event. Without your support and participation, an event of such measure couldn't have been successful. With this, I would congratulate everyone who has been involved in Conclave 22, and I'm glad that the legacy of this event is being carried forward with such efficiency. Thank you, one, and thank you all. May I hand over to the co-heads of Conclave, Nipun and Sarthak.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Good afternoon, everyone, in this meeting. First of all, a heartfelt gratitude to all the panelists and the guests who have joined today. Ma'am, here is a heartfelt gratitude to all the faculty in charges who have helped us in conducting Symbiosis Law School Pune Conclave 2022. I would also like to mention a special appreciation for my co-heads, Kashish Jain, Linda, and Soumya for facilitating Conclave 2022. I'm thankful to all the faculty in charges who were there on and off the field for facilitation of this event and making this event a huge success. Last but not the least, I would like to invite Sarthak in order to give his view and present a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Nipun. I would sincerely agree with whatever Nipun has said. This event would have not been possible without any of the people who are present on the screen and off the screen. I would thank my team who has been working with us for the last 3 months for this event. I would also like to thank the convening panel of SYMBHAV, our convener Angira Bhattacharji, the co-conveners Adarsh Joshi, Asham Sharma, Ashish Dalal, and Ujjwal Anand for their support. And last but not the least, all the other SYMBHAV committees who have been at the have been constantly helping Conclave to ensure that the event goes with no hurdle. With that, I'd like to thank everyone present on the meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you.